Okay. Hello, everyone. In the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful, in the presence of the original, unconditional moment that all conditional moments have arisen from and will return to, in honor of the system admin of this existential simulated system and the world host to this world. In honor of the greatness of all, I wanted to speak about quickly today about this notion of why do people, why can the human species clean like their homes, their houses, but why is it when it comes to society or civilization, it is not the case? Why do human beings care for their individual human experience, but when it comes to the experience of everybody, why don't human beings care? I decided to do some research on this. I'm going to read something for you. This is from ChatGPT, I guess 5.4 or 5. From a deeper academic perspective, the reason, okay, let me read for you. First answer it did. It says, I asked it, why do people clean their room but not the planet? AI said scale of control. One, immediate versus abstract. Okay, let me read that for you. From a deeper academic perspective, the reason people clean their room but not the planet comes down to how human beings experience control, responsibility, and impact across different scales of reality. A person's room exists within what we can call a high control environment. It is small, immediate, and directly connected to the self. When you clean it, you see the result instantly. The cause and effect are clear. This creates a strong sense of ownership and reinforces the behavior. The planet, however, exists as a low control environment. It is vast, shared among billions of people, and the consequences of individual actions are delayed and difficult to see. When one, so it says the planet, however, exists as a low control environment. It is vast, shared among billions of people, and the consequences of individual actions are delayed and difficult to see. When one person acts, the impact appears almost invisible. As a result, the mind struggles to connect action with outcome. This leads to a well known pattern in human behavior described as the tragedy of the commons. Let's look at this. The tragedy of the commons is an economic and ecological theory describing how individuals acting in their own self interest can deplete shared resources even when preservation benefits all. The concept illustrates the conflict between individual incentives and collective welfare with a broad relevance in environmental policy, economics, and social governance. It says where shared spaces are neglected because responsibility is spread across everyone and therefore fully owned by no one. Alongside this is the diffusion of responsibility. Diffusion of responsibility is a core concept in social psychology describing how individuals feel less personally accountable to act when others are present. It explains why people in groups often fail to help, intervene, or take initiative, assuming that someone else will. The effect is a key mechanism behind the bystander effect and has implications across emergency response, workplace ethics, and online behavior. So I'm going to read the whole thing again. It says this leads to a well-known pattern in human behavior described as the tragedy of the commons, where shared spaces are neglected because responsibility is spread across everyone and therefore fully owned by no one. Alongside this is the diffusion of responsibility, where the more people involved, the less each individual feels personally accountable. There is also a deeper psychological layer. Humans are naturally responsive to what is close, visible, and emotionally immediate. Your room affects your daily experience. The planet often feels distant, abstract, or removed from your direct life, even though it is not. So the difference is not simply that people care about their room and not the planet. It is that the human mind is structured to act where it feels clear control, visible impact, and personal ownership. At a higher level, this reveals something important about humanity itself. We have learned how to maintain our personal environments, but we're still developing the awareness and systems needed to take responsibility for global ones, for shared global ones. In simple terms, we are at managing what feels like mine, but we're still learning how to take care of what is truly ours. Another thing I was going to read earlier, it said, pretty much it was saying it in point form. It says, so it's breaking it down. It says one, scale of control. Immediate versus abstract. People clean their room because it is small. It is theirs. The results are immediate and visible. The planet, on the other hand, feels so big, feels shared. It doesn't feel like yours. And the impact of one person feels invisible. Humans act where they feel agency. What incredible sentence. That's very true. That's very true. I'm giving this talk because there's an agency. I feel an agency. It is to some degree in my control. For example, when I see the image of Apple and I say Apple, like the word, I hear the word Apple. It's not that I'm seeing the image of an apple and I'm saying orange. You understand? It is something in my control, and because it is in my control, I can do something about it. But the issue of control is very complex and sophisticated things. So, anyways, one is scale of control, two, it says psychological ownership. If we say your room equals this is mine, the planet equals this is everyone's, so not really mine. This is known in behavioral science as a form of tragedy of commons, of the commons. Yeah, yeah guys, tragedy of the commons. It's like people don't feel responsible because they're in a shared space. Diffusion of responsibility is pretty much if individuals feel less responsible to act when there's others around. Three, feedback system. Cleaning your room equals to an instant reward. Clean space, mental clarity. Helping the planet is the abstract reward. Here's the case. Humans are wired for short-term feedback loops. Visibility of impact. If you clean your room, you see the difference immediately. If you recycle one bottle, you see the difference. So the brain says, why bother? It says five responsibility diffusion on a planet scale. People think governments should fix it, corporations should fix it, others would. This is called diffusion of responsibility. The bigger problem, the less each individual acts. Wow. The bigger the problem, the less individual acts. Do you know what that means, guys? The human species has such big problems that I feel the individual is stunned in its engagement. It says emotional distance. Six, your room. You live in it, you feel it daily. The planet damage is often far away or slow and invisible. Humans respond to what is emotionally close, not what is logically true. Then we have seven, the advanced view. At a higher level, your question is really this: why does the human mind organize itself locally but feel exactly, exactly? Because humans are still evolving from individual survival systems to species level responsibility systems. Cleaning your room equals self level consciousness. Cleaning the planet equals species level consciousness. Most people are still operating at my life, my space, my survival. Very few operate at our species, our planet, our future. Exactly. For years, I've been saying this. Final answer, it says people clean their room because they feel ownership, control, immediate impact. They don't clean the planet because they feel small, disconnected, and irrelevant. It says humanity has learned to maintain its immediate environment, but has not yet matured into a species capable of maintaining its shared reality. Bam! That sentence. This is it. Okay. All right, guys. I'm hoping the audio's better. I don't know what else to do. It's not better. I'm gonna continue though. Pretty much. Let's look at the last sentence of the research. It says humanity has learned to maintain its immediate environment, but has not yet matured into a species a species capable of maintaining its shared reality. Do you know what this means? The advantage of every human being is they are a unique processor. Okay, and you can take one problem and show it to 8.1 billion human beings, and you will see 8.1 billion different problems which can have different solutions in regards or different engagements to the problem. Okay, now the idea is this: people clean their room. Okay, one, because it is fully in their ownership. That's one reason. Second reason, they, as we were discussing it, they can see the results. And third, they are sure it is their responsibility. And I find it weird that human species, its responsibility levels have gone up to nationalism and not further. I believe this is the biggest reason our species is not evolving. Think of it this way. Imagine 8.1 billion people on a gigantic boat, on a ship in unknown waters. This boat is so huge that one end cannot see the other. Okay. Now we see problems on the boat. Somebody spills something, they need to change the sails, you know. In some sense, those problems that are visible, like they can be handled, okay? Small problems. But when the ship is sinking, unfortunately, the masses of people won't realize until the elevation of the whole ship has changed. The issue is there are gigantic, colossal problems that the human species should have united to solve. The way the politics of the world is going, it is too egotistically forced. And when somebody lives egotistically, it's a completely different vibe of a room. You know what's coming. This world is designed not to be in the control of the inner realms of man, but for man to realize his outer realms is the inner realms of God. What is God? God is what every form loves and fears. Children get a glimpse of it when they are afraid of their parents and when their parents love them. But fear is outgrown. We outgrow the fear. The love remains constant. All human life is how an intelligent organism aligns itself. That's it. Every one of you, you wake up, you're aligning yourself to preconceived, pre accepted views. It's like, do you know what it is? Right now in 2026, it's obvious. It's obvious that humans are disconnected from their world. If there was an evil agenda, it succeeded. You know why? Because people have prioritized their experience over the whole experience. We're like elements in a system that couldn't acknowledge, couldn't know, weren't conscious of the system, you know? And now the system's falling apart and the elements are like, oh no, what do we do? Is it too late for systems thinking? It's very simple. They convinced us life is an individual act, and therefore they defeated the species by making every person value their individualism. And because the maturity of the species throughout history, it had not arrived. Do you understand what the species is? Great ideas have arrived, just like how souls have different ranks and they're positioned in different parts of the realm. and sometimes they outrank or they underrank or they overrank their positions. People who get along, they're of the same rank. I am a firm believer in this, that souls have ranks. Now, unfortunately, your rank is lower if you are responsible for a part of the world. I could not ignore the fact. Okay, pretty much right now, human consciousness, the diffusion of reality, and the tragedy of the comments. In other words, individuals are depleting shared resources. The problem with this whole time, centuries of human beings, they have looked at their government, they have blamed their government. We have blamed the government, and we've turned them into demons. So it is very clear to me, no human being can any longer say the issue is just with the government. The issue is with all of you, all of us, even me. Many moments in this life, it was easier to watch than participate. It was easier to believe than know. And so, have the people of the world shown their civilization? You see, I see things very differently because I have access to my inner realms and I'm a futurist. Therefore, if people in 2026 see this civilization, in 2026, I don't see this civilization. I see the advanced potential of every position of the civilization. What does that mean? That means I ask myself, what would the most advanced, in some sense, people being governed look like? And then I ask myself, what would the most advanced form of government look like? Advanced governing look like? You understand? It has been easy in the same way we push the blame onto the other. You look at human psychology from childhood, anything it is not responsible for, it runs away from. When you're a kid in school, you skip class, the principal's like, what are you kids doing? You run away, with your friends, right? We have this relationship which is so childish. Even you could be a 90-year-old man and have this childish relationship with your system. Okay, everybody's in a system. This whole world is concentric circles of systems inside systems inside systems. And the moment you think you have found reality, you have just paused to notice a bunch of the systems. So, what is the point of this? What is the value of this? Of what I'm saying? I did not expect in this lecture, I thought, like most people, we think it's the government's problem. Let's say you're a young kid, okay, and the household, let's say, I don't know, you don't have food, right? Or let's say your parents are distracted by their desires or whatnot. Okay, it's like the child sits in that empty room, no food. Imagine, okay, sits there waiting, waiting, waiting. Doesn't change. The parents don't feed the child. The parents don't even pay the bills. And it's this scary moment for the child where responsibility which actually should be the systems, now falls on the child. Okay? But that is strangely a blessing in disguise. That means I'm sure of it. Okay? The less you are cared for when you are young, the more you are raised to care for yourself, because who else will care? But if you always have someone, let's say, putting a pillow when you fall, you end up being a fragile mutation in this realm. Hear it from someone who was emotionally enmeshed. I had, in a lot of areas of my life, there were not issues, I would say, you know, but the one area of my life that had the most drastic impact on my life. In other words, think of trauma as something the world stole from you. I see it that way. Okay, but it's natural. It's like the system. Okay, and so what did the world steal from you? Okay, everything. What did the circumstances take away from me when I was young? It did not give me an ability to be able to notice my own emotions. For years, like a mule with a carrot, and a stick in front of it, I chased emotions. It was as if I did not have emotional certainty for a long time. And then I wondered why. What was so effed up about my childhood? And then I realized I had never allowed myself to feel what is my emotion. That means, imagine, I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of the emotionally enmeshed, which also connects to self-sabotage. It's equivalent to, imagine a child crying. A child falls down and there's pain. Okay, let's say a daughter, a son. You raise a son differently than a daughter. But let's say you have a young daughter, right? She falls down, okay, or she makes a mistake and she starts crying. Imagine your child starts crying, okay? Now the parents are like, or imagine the child, okay, I'll give you a good example. Imagine kids are playing in the house, very young, they're playing tag. One of them runs and their elbow hits the vase. And the vase falls down and breaks. And the parent comes and just out of nowhere, just like a loss of having something, having an object, and the parent's like, oh my God, how many times have I told you don't play here? And oh my God, out there. The parent scolds, goes berserk on the kid. In that moment, the kid forgets whether if what it did was right or wrong. The parent comes and replaces the emotion of the child, thinking it's a parent. That child, what goes on? Instead of being responsible, the next time it breaks something, it's going to be like, yo, man, I'm going to get a scolding. It's going to run away rather than being responsible, helping clean it up, understanding what was wrong about what they did that was wrong, not just emotionally educating kids, and then they don't understand their emotions when they grow older. And then the parents are like, why the F did my child become such a bad kid? Oh, yeah, you stole their emotions from them. But it's not your fault. It is no one's fault. In the same way, I have had endless people come and tell me messed up conspiracies about this world, right? To convince me that we are in hell. And I will be like, keep trying, even increase the flames. This is not hell because we're not in hell yet. None of us are. None of us have failed. The advanced potential of the human species stands. And with divine mercy, greatness will roar again. The responsibility levels of the human species has decreased to such a point. All of you feel powerless. All of, I don't want to use that negative word, but all of you are holding. All of us, because we are disconnected with being capable of being responsible for our realm. We, in some sense, delegate individual egos to run our lives. That means it's like, oh my God, if we were going to choose an individual human being with an individual ego to run the nation. Bro, I could have had that ego. You need more than ego. What is the point of having power but no heart? What is the point of being a member of the human species but ideas allow you to destroy it? Ideas have possessed mankind. Our species is at war with subjects. That is the craziest thing I have noticed on earth. They're like war. I'm like, dude, Iran and America fighting, Israel and Gaza fighting. This is, yes, it's effed up. It's psychologically effed up. We can't be normal human beings after witnessing this with the internet showing it all to us. All world leaders, it is so easy for the sake of the resources of your country to invade, but you do not understand. You are depleting the resource, the human capital. You are, in some sense, terrifying the species. At what cost? So the species has more fuel to run. A majority of world leaders are rich. They all are living in luxury. What is a presidential breakfast? Like, like a presidential brunch. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Now, I'm not here to point fingers. Let me tell you why. Because if I wanted to point fingers at any evil person right now, I would have to point fingers, and they would point the finger to the more fucked up thing that was in their life. Pretty much evil people are beasts that haven't understood the value of civility. Civility does not mean just acting well. It means that the human values have changed from the time we used to bite each other. The problem is this: responsibility levels on a species scale. Human beings, they clean their house, they clean their car because you feel it is yours, because you're responsible for it. But why do we throw trash and if it doesn't hit? See, it's like a game and there's positions. The reason human beings need to be governed, it's the same reason children need to be parented. It's conditional freedom. I'm saying it this way. If we, as the members of the human species, as the people, look at those in power and say, yo, these guys are irresponsible, then when we look at ourselves, have we been irresponsible? And the answer is yes. If they took all the humans and all the leaders into couples therapy, you know, the people are like, these guys have been freaking using us. And the leaders are like, these guys are savage. What else can we do? The answer is easy. All evil is ignorant of future potential. Evil has accepted breaking its normal. but inevitably everybody breaks, even your worst enemies. Even like you have no enemies once you become species level conscious. But I'm telling you, I have spent a decade talking about the advancement of civilization, and I have not been as shocked as just noticing this fact that the species, the whole species, has been talking. Uh, they say talking. What is it? Talking the walk rather than walking the walk, something like that. Not only do humans beings, I find, need to become responsible, they need to become responsible multidimensionally. You see mothers and fathers become superheroes when their children are in danger. But do you see human leadership be that way? How long will it take for the human species to realize it is the most valuable resource? It's like it's like imagine a society, a transcendental society. There's physical beings, there's subjective beings, and there's, let's say, soul beings. You know, like solid, liquid, gas, a society of like solidified beings, a society of liquid beings, and a society of gas beings. Okay, and it's like the physical beings are intervening in the authorization and rights of the objective beings, are impinging on the rights of the subjective beings. And the subjective beings could be impinging on the rights and authorizations of the souls. Do you know what soul means? It means you belong to a group. What is that group? It is the group of all manifestation. You are an emergence. Reality has emerged, and the pattern it has played out is that it has been going towards more complexity. Now the species is wondering, okay, everything's becoming more complex. What does this imply about the simple way we're being naturally human? The answer is today, human to be human is a noun. In the future, it will be recognized as a verb. That means human consciousness is like speaking a language. Non-humans can speak that. I can see AI speaking that language. I can see in the far future, you know, a young single guy, goes somewhere to mingle and suddenly, meets this perfect girl, intellectual, amazing, incredible, beautiful, and then ends up realizing she's an android or a clone, you know and the tech was so negotiable from reality that what today was so easily definable, understandable as a natural human, in the future, the lines are going to get blurred. Now, I will share, because these moments happen once, I will share, I guess, if my inner realms took control of the realm. I know that all the evil people are going to run away from their consequences. I know this. And I know that those people who have normalized dehumanization of any sort, they have rendered their class of soul as a different being. Yes, you can convert your nature here. Oh, have you not been told? A person's soul has to do with interference with other souls and moments. A person's mind might be like, yeah, man, I gotta go in there and go do something. I gotta go and be a hero. The person's body might have fear, but the person's soul has to ask, if a greater me stood in this moment, how would it behave? If a more, like, do you know that I was someone, I didn't understand this, but I had this happen. and nobody pointed it out to me. I just noticed it one day. Okay. I had this habit of when I would have conversations with people, I would think that it's a power thing. Okay. Not a power thing, but in the sense of like, okay, the power is in the shape that defines the context where the concepts arise, right? But I guess this is something that happens. I don't know. Maybe it could be just the maturity you hit after your 30s, when you hit your 30s, right? But now I let the moments happen before I create them in my mind. I have learned in a world where we are being stormed by endless information from different sources to remain unknown. Do you know what that means? That means you are a scholar. A scholar seeks vision, okay? Seeks further vision. It's like if you took me to an ancient library, all right, with ancient books, and somehow we could interpret these books. That would be like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, you know? And but I will not touch those books. The whole point of it is where our attention goes, that becomes prioritized. If our attention is on an individual system, your individual life is being prioritized. Have human beings, it's like from one angle, the system hasn't made it easy for human beings to have collective responsibility unless they change their identity. You know, at the end of it, it's just people. It has to be a new reality to reset civilization. It has to be a new definition of a human being. When you look in the mirror, do you just see you, or do you see a pattern this sector of existence has generated specifically? I am not born as a dolphin. I'm not born as a lion. I'm born as a member of the human species. And why do I feel disconnected from my species? Oh, yeah, everybody's busy worshiping themselves, and while the whole system fails. In an advanced civilization, I got visions that there's going to be these like giant spheres. It's a roaming civilization. Any person would go and put their palm on that sphere. It would look at their DNA. It would check everything about them. They could even talk, and from the tone of their voice and everything from like 5 minute conversation. That advanced AI will immediately realize, okay, and has information of that person's past, and it will be like, okay, you need to go right now to exactly like Japan, and there's a community of people that exactly match where your state of mind is. And so you were like, let's say in the States, and you get a flight back to Japan. And at that point, the airlines are free. You understand what I mean? We are on some level, I do understand. It's like they just like a puzzle. Imagine a puzzle all broken up into blocks like a giant puzzle. You go and throw it on the table. You need to flatten each piece, see each piece, place each piece visible, pieces are mispositioned, and some pieces haven't even been flipped correctly. Some human beings do not know their true value. They believe they're the ideas they have. They don't understand that the ideas are an aspect of their mind. Let's say you're walking somewhere and somebody comes and says something negative to you. That and they create a negative image in your mind of you, right? But that is not you. The mind is like a space that language can put shape in. Okay, if you believe you're a shape, you will get angry by anybody coming and changing your shape to you. But if you realize they put a bunch of 8.1 incomplete beings in a room, and they're like in a room they have no idea about, and they're like figure it out. So it is obvious everything needs to move towards species level consciousness. Human beings take care of what they feel they belong to, or what they not belong to, what they feel they own. And we're like, yo, man, why do presidents have big egos? They think they feel like they own the nation. When world leaders stop being servants, like Lao Tzu said, once the leader's task is done, the people will say we did it ourselves. You know, 80-year-old, like old politicians, and young people dying in wars. We're witnessing old timers that don't understand when it's time to leave. In other words, I think it's fair to say the global politics is possessed by the past. Anyways, folks, what can I say? I feel I am part of the human familia. I believe we all are. When we look in the mirror, we see members of the human species. This whole time, we have been part of Team Humanity. We need to right now realize 8.1 billion humans, they all start off in their own inner realm. They're all trying to function in one outer realm. Every being, every individual human psychology gives meaning to the outer realms based on their own inner realms. The task of 8.1 billion human beings is to see beyond the meaning they give the world and wonder about the true potential of everything that is here. Many of you, billions of you, are religious. What does that mean? You believe in a higher power. You believe in the greatest power in this world, created the greatest power beyond this world, created you, and yet you stand irresponsible of all the greatness that has been created. Religious people fighting with one another is equivalent to these people being like, yo, man, I love God, but I'm going to go defeat its creation. I'm going to go break its creation. The error is that you all think you own yourselves. In reality, as we gain a greater awareness, that awareness will move beyond the jurisdiction of human ownership. Right now, a subject is moving you objectively. You believe you are the subject. You have not even asked yourself if the subject can be greater, that the subject is humanity itself. Do not let your species fail just because a few human beings are lost in their own world. Rise, mankind, rise. The responsibility is double edged. Not only we need new citizens with a new awareness, we need leadership with a new awareness. Like I am saying this to all, to the grandchildren, to the young grandchildren of all world leaders. Imagine like your grandfather is some elitist billionaire that's like, messing up the world or something. You know? It is your task, or grandchild of this person, of these people, you know, to go to your grandfather and be like, what world are you gifting me, billionaire granddad? It's like, oh my God, my billionaire grandfather bought me a yacht, but there's not going to be an ocean for me to, in some sense, ride that yacht on. Even evil is evil to itself, guys. I'm telling you. You have a choice. The good and evil are based on your actions and their consequences. Imagine an evil people saving lives. We'll be like, what the F? That person's not evil. That person's like, I'm evil, man, but I'm a doctor too. The doctor's oath. I don't know. I'm just like all of you. I'm in one corner of this world of ours. I'm seeing it. Um, I also see that we care about the potential of individuals. Employers hire employees based on their potential. You know what the world really needs to see? When all the people of the nation, like, do you know what it is? The people of a nation are the conscience of their world leaders, of their leaders. And lobbyism is just about trying to hide that conscience. But guys, politics is boring. I don't know. I think that the human civilization should be reset, and the essential original values should be: we care for, we are one human species on Earth, on this place we call Earth, and the most important thing is human experience and human existence. Not the most important, but I'm saying they are, like civilizations, governments. They're not handling their nations like tourist agencies. They should, though. Do you know the experience of the quality of the experience of the human is more important? Do you know? It's like, is it better to have a civil? Is it better to have a nation filled with millions of low resolution beings, like beings having low resolution experiences of their world, or is it better to advance civilization? Even when I was discussing evil, you know that there is the Medici family in history. Okay, they were like the first bankers, and the Medici family that became like very wealthy. The Medici family, it was like, I'm not saying they didn't have an agenda, okay, but they made the city beautiful. And how often do you see billionaires making cities beautiful? You know what I mean? They pay charities, of their own creation, which is, I don't know, tax write-offs or something. I don't know, like, I don't know, guys. I mean, a part of me acknowledges that this reality is not purely physical. Like, the game my soul is playing is different than the game my body is playing. The game my mind is playing is different than the game my body and soul is playing. The game my soul is playing is like trying to find the most advanced state or the original power, which I feel I have found it. And in regards to the mind, there's only one mission: advanced civilization. To build an advanced civilization. It's the greatest argument. All of you are living for your future selves, which technically means you're living for your individual advanced self. You're not living for the collective advanced self. The collective advanced self is wondering about the potential of your species. Imagine you're someone who can do a bicycle kick. That's the potential of you. But I want you to imagine what sort of bicycle kick the species can do, right? So this is where we're reaching that point where we had leaders as people, and that didn't work out. So now the issue is every individual needs to be a leader, but they are becoming sub leaders. Do you know what I mean? Like leadership is, keep thinking about this idea that Lao Tzu said from like 3,000 years ago or something. Like Lao Tzu said, um, again, it's after the leader's task is done, the people will say we did it ourselves. Now imagine if everybody lived in a way that they wanted to see the world victorious. Right now, individuals want to see themselves victorious in the world. They don't want to see the victory of the species, right? And there can be counter arguments. Somebody's going to be like, Mr. Within, if we all unite, if there's world peace and equality, isn't everything going to get boring? I'll be like, nah, man, unity doesn't mean like chaos and order go away. The whole idea is like all that I'm saying is it's like I'm not gonna, it's not like I can like snap my fingers and chaos and order stop fighting. I'm just trying to pause every being in this universal sector to help build the most advanced human civilization known, and then do whatever the f you want. Let us experience the most advanced state, and then in the advanced state be good or evil. But before that, be an advanced being that is serving the advancement of civilization. Do you know what I mean? There was Guru Padmasambhava, this like Buddhic figure in Tibetan Buddhism, and this guy would go around where there was droughts or there was like weird stuff, and he in that time they saw it as the sign of beings. Like if somebody had bad things happen to them, or they had like droughts or something in their farmland, it wasn't a sign, it was a sign of like beings, invisible beings in interfering. And Bodhidharma, not Bodhidharma, Guru Padmasambhava would go to these places and convert these demons to Buddhism. He would convert energy, he would redirect energy, intelligent energy, regardless of its ethics. But I guess it's ethical if you go towards Buddhism. It's like, you know, ultimately, um, the human beings that don't have patience to let their moments settle, just like imagine an eagle landing on a branch or a butterfly landing on a leaf, right? Like that gentleness. If you don't have that gentleness in letting moments fulfill, we're all just waiting for one event that to scare us into unity. Either aliens attack, either nuclear warheads and the buttons of them can be pressed. Something is going to scare all of us, and we're all going to realize, okay, thank God that passed, and then we're going to realign. Okay, one can say the reason, um, uh, after World War II, like there was a more peace, is because it was effed up, man. It was too intense. Some say humans are treated as pawns. The pawns reach the end of the board and can become any piece except a pawn. And I guess I can, you know, judge myself here. Why have I talked about advanced civilizations but haven't done much in the outer realms? Why don't I have an advanced civilization headquarters that I could go into every morning? Man. Anyways, folks, there are, think of it this way: all the moments that you watch and don't do anything, you're missing out on a state of consciousness where you can engage the world. I've had near death, like not near death, I've had experiences of death in dream states. And one feeling in all of them is simply this: that you see the world is still there, but you can't engage it. We take our engagement with this realm so for granted. I have lived as a mind mainly. I guess now I got to go and experience the other side. Can you imagine I become like a professional Olympic athlete? They're like, Mr. Within. Why? And I'm like, it's so for this, like, a man, being a human being is a language, folks. If you can speak the language, you get all the jokes. Thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced, may the greatest power in the realm bless and honor and advance the human species. May all powers in the realm help the human species advance. It's like, why is everything in this realm, in every plane, in every dimension, why are you guys witnessing a human species that is not the most advanced it could be? It's like every being in the realm. Don't you want to see how advanced the human species can be if you have an ego, right? So there is no greater argument than what would the most advanced potential of everybody look like, of the species look like. If we can activate that, we have won the war. But if we are still fighting over nationalism, like nations are fighting, like it's still species civil war. All wars will be known in the future as species civil wars. Anyways, thank you for listening. Have a great day, guys. And next time, if you see anything, okay, let's say you're watching somebody is in trouble, okay, analyze the situation. If you are capable, in a sense, go and help that situation. The issue is we need to learn to look from the eyes of those who we don't have their eyes. And because we're all human, we know that there's a general human value. Like when a human being cries, imagine you like a bunch of human beings. I saw this clip online, and this guy like gets a heart attack or something, and then all the at this comedy show, and everybody in that comedy show, like there were a bunch of nurses there, they started doing CPR and everything, you know and they saved the guy, and the comedian was legit crying because he had never seen something like that, you know and that's the true value of humanity. It is not, we our values are not really, the value of us is not found when we're alone. It is what we do in a collective event, when one event is real to multiple people. What do we do in that event compared to just one event being real to just a person, alone? Anyways, I've talked enough. Thank you. Thank you for listening.